Good morning, crafty friends. Hello and happy Tuesday. I have to admit it's getting harder and harder to remember what day it is. So Whitney and I were just talking. I have been live a lot lately talking about all the fun things we have going on at Tailored Expressions. We've been collaborating for World Card Making Day. We've been doing the Crop and Create event. We've had our own lives. We had an extra color drop last week. We did our staycation supply list walkthrough yesterday, if you tuned in for that. And today we are here with another new product release, and I'm excited to share it with you guys. So as you're hopping on, say hello in the comments. I'm gonna say hi to some people as I see you guys popping in today. So hello Francis. We have Linda here. Linda's so excited for this week. Vicky, good morning. Hi, Mary in South Carolina. Lisa's here in, hello from a Wisconsin girl in Columbus, Ohio today. So awesome. Good morning, Susan in Colorado. Excited to catch a live. I'm glad you're able to catch us today. Farley is here. Fun. On a road trip, but can't miss Taylor's Live. So well, thank you all for joining us today. I'm excited to share our newest products with you. And of course, we get to enjoy some crafty time together. This is also my first Tuesday live in the month of October. So we're going to talk about our freebies, our free with every order and free with $100 order. And they are some good ones this month. So we're going to talk through that. And we have a special offer happening for you guys. All of this started today at 9 a.m. So maybe you got an email and you've already seen what we're doing, but I'm going to talk a little bit through it. Plus, we had our release reveal over the weekend on our fan page. So Whitney and I talked through the products that went live this morning. And you can always see that on Saturdays if you want to see what's coming next week. We love when you tune in for that as well. So, all right, let's get started. I'm going to pop up our promotion for this week first so you guys can make sure you have this information. We are doing a calendar sale. This is the time of year that you should start thinking about creating calendars for gifts. I know some of you even do different craft shows where you sell things, and calendars were always a bestseller for me. So grab your calendars to use this fall season at 30% off. That includes all of our tear-off calendars, mini tear-offs and square tear-offs, along with our pre-printed calendars. We have lots of desktop versions in landscape and portrait. We have our arched calendar. So lots of goodies. Now's your chance to get them at a great deal. So in addition to that, we are releasing our Petal Party products this week. And Petal Party is a stencil, and so we're going to use that together today. I'm going to show you a couple of the samples. This release was actually offered during our class with Crop and Create. So if you were at the Crop and Create event a few weeks ago, then you received this fun stencil in your kit. The stencil is actually one that is similar to others that we have in our collection. You might recall Perennial Scenes. Here's what the stencil looks like. It is a large stencil, and then it creates those 6 different squares of artwork. So others we have in our collection, I was saying, Perennial Scenes is another one that does this similar style. And then we also have the Quilt Squares that was recently released, where you can blend 6 different quilt squares and then cut them apart. So this one is called Petal Party. And then we also have lots of coordinating products to go along with this to allow you to create the calendars like I have shown here. I wanted to show you guys because I went and blended different color combinations for each month of the year. So I was going to flip through these quickly just so you can see January. February has a love Valentine theme. Then we have March. We're trying and hoping for spring, some pastels. Then we have April, getting into the brighter spring season. May, again, lovely floral in bright colors. Then we get into our summery colors with June. July, I went with a patriotic theme with the red, white, and blue flowers. And then August starts to turn more fallish. So you can see some of these are foiled. We have a coordinating foilet, and I'll be using that on the live today, along with some other products that go with this. October, I went with the Halloween themed florals. And November, we have those beautiful fall colors, and December, Christmas. So you can get as creative as you want to be with the color combinations. I was able to do all these different colors by kind of masking off the stencil and creating kind of one piece of artwork. But if you're going to mass produce your calendars, you could blend a whole 6 of them in Halloween colors, and then you would have enough for 6 different full calendars once you do it for each month. So really, really fun stencil to use. But the other cool part about this is you can use it for cards as well, which is what we're going to be doing on the live today. I'm going to show you the card we'll be making. These are a couple that I designed. My purpose for this was to do something different with the color combination. So this is not a color combination I have tried before, and I was excited with how it turned out. Kind of soft colors, but not too pastel. So I'll get into those color choices when we get to crafting. We're actually going to make this one over here, and both of these layouts were achieved with the new die set that we just released today. It's called All Planned Out 4, and it's specifically designed to help you lay out a card with the square artwork in mind. So it has a lot of those layering pieces, some strips that you can use in the background, and different ways that you can easily create card layouts using that square-sized artwork. All right, before we get to that, we are going to talk about our October every order freebie and our 100 plus freebie. I know, exciting. Very exciting. Sandra's asking if I will share my color combos for each of those panels. And yes, I do have all of those marked down, and I have photos of them. So I will make sure and get those in our Fans of Tailored Expressions page. So you have that color combo information. And then we'll get those on the website as well. So all right, let's talk about our every order freebie then. If you are following along with our collection card, it is now time. We are in October of our A Year in Bloom stamp collection, which means there's only 2 more months to collect after this. And I hope you guys have had fun with this theme. So every single order you place at Tailored Expressions gets one of these freebies. And this month, it comes in this little bag. So look for that in your order when it comes to you. And let's pull this out and see what this month's flower is. This one is, oh, it's the marigold. So fun. I remember my mom planted marigolds all along our walkway. And then when the season was over and they would go to seed, I would collect all the marigold seeds and plant them somewhere, probably in a random pot or in the forest somewhere. So yes, I love the marigold. This is a sticker, and this sticker is designed to place on your collection header card. So I'm going to pull the backing off of the sticker, and then that outline that's printed on the header card is designed to fit the sticker perfectly, so you get them evenly spaced on your collection card. And then you'll want to pull off this piece of backing on the back of the stamp. That reveals our cling mount, and that's what sticks to either the lid of your MISTI or alignment tool or your acrylic block if you're using one of those. Also sticks to the back of your header card. So these header cards are available separately for purchase at the Tailored Expressions store. You can search A Year in Bloom and you're going to find the whole collection. If you've missed any months, you can find those by searching A Year in Bloom and you can purchase them. And the other thing you can purchase is the coordinating die. So A Year in Bloom October die went available for purchase this morning, and you can grab this if you want to be able to cut out that image, but there are lots of ways you can use these without cutting them as well, but I know lots of you like to grab that die so you have the maximum versatility. So there you go. That is the Year in Bloom freebie stamp with any purchase. Now, it is the first time you're seeing this freebie because with our Christmas release last week, we had a special exclusive freebie for our holiday release. And that is over now, and we are moving into our freebie for the month of October. You guys are going to love this die. It is called Giftables Mini Mail. We love to spoil you with our freebies, and I will just say this freebie, it's a little bit large. It got kind of, did we accidentally do too much? Maybe.
We loved it. We loved it.
But I love this, and I think it's perfect timing for a freebie as you're thinking about ways to gift things for the holidays. I have some boxes here to show you. So Jill created the adorable box that looks like a crayon box. I mean, Jill, so clever. I love this. But it has this little, it's called a mini mail box because it has a little flap that looks like an envelope. So you can tuck this flap into the notch that's cut into the front of the box. The other cool thing I wanted to show you was we were able to fit 4 chapsticks in here. So I think that would be a really fun way to gift something for the holidays, maybe for teachers or little stocking stuffers or gifts for your card group or your friend group. You could do this in, of course, different holiday colors and themes as well. So candy also fits in the box. So let me take these out and show you a couple of different candies. We've got Kit Kats, of course, lemon Kit Kats, and 2 of those fit side by side in the box, maybe even 4 if you wanted to really stuff the front full of candy. So a couple of Kit Kats fit in there. We've got also some Reese's Thins. I had to tease Whitney because she went out and bought candy to see what would fit in here. But really, it's a pretty large opening, and she bought M&Ms because, you know, we had to test whether M&Ms would fit in this box.
I love candy.
So, yes, we found lots of candies that fit in here. Reese's Thins are another good one, and rest assured, M&Ms will also fit in the box. So that would be cute. Yes, Carol says a little box of tea. Put some tea bags in it and gift it with a mug for the holidays. That would be
our mom would love
really
that.
cute. Yeah, that's a great idea. Here's another sample of the box. Jill did this one by stamping her own pattern paper, die cutting the box, and then she tied it together with some burlap twine. So you can also do that with a cute little tag on it. And then I wanted to show you this idea because another fun thing here that Sue created was actually an open box, and this one stands up. It could be a really fun way to mark a place setting. Instead of the Merry Christmas, you could do the person's name, and then her arrangement coming out of there is popped up with multiple layers of foam tape, and I think it just looks really, really fun. You can tuck a gift card in here. It won't close though if you do put a gift card in there. So you could leave it open, tuck a gift card, put a little bit of tissue coming out of it, and that would be a really cute way to package up a gift card as well. So many fun things to do with this box. Oh, and I should mention, anybody love Tailored Expressions Teeny Cards die? Well, you can fit a set of teeny cards in here with the teeny card envelope, and we thought that would be a really fun way to package up some little gift tags or gift cards as well. All right, let's see. Do staycation participants, we have a question about staycation. Do staycation participants get the perk of early release ordering like in-person SJ attendees receive? Yes, you do. So we do have a collection of items that we'll release for our staycation participants to purchase early as well. And some of those are offered in person only, and some of them do transition and transfer over for staycation participants to purchase. Let's see. That's awesome. Lee says, I will never regret shopping TE to get the new freebies. She's loving the Giftables mini mail. Awesome. All right. Well, that is our freebie for the rest of the month of October. Of course, while supplies last, we hope to have those supplies lasting all through the month. One thing I did want to mention about this as well. So let me grab my die cut platform. I'm not going to bring the whole die cut machine in, but here is something I want to make sure everybody knows who receives this die. We wanted to make it as big as we possibly could so that it would fit those teeny cards and the envelopes. When you receive this, if you have a traditional 6x9 platform and you put it down on the platform going straight into your machine, you'll notice it doesn't fit. So make sure you turn it. So it's going to fit perfectly on your platform. You just need to make sure that you turn it. There's actually plenty of space around the edge. You'll just have to angle it on your platform. If you're trying to send it straight through, you're going to catch that top edge and ruin your die. So make sure it's completely on your platform before you die cut it. Hopefully that makes sense to everybody. Want to save you the headache.
Good tip.
All right, well, that's it for freebie conversation. So let's get started, and we are going to start blending on our foilet. So as I mentioned, we have a foilet that coordinates with the Petal Party that's releasing today. There are 2 different designs in this. Design 1, you get 3 of this sheet, and then you get 2 of this sheet. So depending on how foiled you want your accents to be, this one is more and this one is a little less, but both really fun. So, all right. Oh, somebody's asking how Sue got the back of her cardstock. Oh, she says, I love how Sue stamped the back of the foil cardstock so the foil showed inside. So yes, Sue die cut a piece of our foil cardstock and kind of slipped it in as an envelope liner. So she used the same box die and just cut off the edges and slipped it in and adhered it to the box itself. So really, really fun. All right, so here we go. I'm gonna go ahead and tack this down to my work surface, and we are gonna start off with layer 1. Somebody asked about when the 6x8.5 foil shim will be restocked. I wish I had an exact date for you. Best thing to do is to sign up for restock notifications on that product. I know we're actively working to get that back in stock. So, and then someone else asked if the new $100 freebie will be available at the TE store for Thursday shopping or for the event shopping this weekend. We're so excited to welcome all of you for Stamp Joy, and that's a great question. We've answered it a few times on the Stamp Joy page as well. So tell all your friends. We will have exclusive freebies for the event, for Thursday shopping and for the event store shopping. So the box freebie is currently and will only be available for online shopping during the month of October. Okay, so we're going to start off layer 1. I did a little bit, like I said, my goal with these cards was to create kind of a unique color combination. And I actually think I said to Whitney and Susan and Sue, who were here crafting with me, like, I want to do something weird. And while this doesn't look weird, I guess I wouldn't call it weird. The weird part is that I didn't use kind of coordinating shade sequence colors. So Popsicle was recently released, and its shade sequence for a darker blend would typically be Plum Punch. However, I am going to be pairing Popsicle with Huckleberry. So really different colors give you really different looking blends. The same for my next blend. When we get to layer 2, I'm using this really light rosewater color, and I'm pairing it with passion fruit. And that's what gives you this beautiful colored flower here, which is really different than using the shade sequence, the expected color pairing for each shade. So let's get started with Popsicle. Lee says, not weird, very cool. Okay, good. And Valerie's going to buy snacks for your road trip to Iowa.
Snacks are so
fun.
important.
Yes, thank you for reminding me, because I need to place my my Target order for my snacks. I'm actually staying downtown at the events hotel with all of you who are joining us. And, you know, I was thinking today, Whitney, I need my morning Alani. So it is time for me to place my order. I need to stock up. I might need a morning Alani and an evening Alani so I can keep up with all you crazy crafters. So I need to get my snacks placed too. Susan and I are rooming together, and thankfully we both like the same snacks. So I'll also be bringing Twizzlers Nibs. That's a big favorite, and hot tamales. And nerd clusters. I got to get the yummy ones that are the limited edition. Is it cherry lemonade or something like that? I don't know. They're fabulous. A lot of the nerds clusters, I think, I can't really tell the difference between these two flavors. But the cherry ones, cherry lemonade, I can definitely tell the difference, and they are yummy. Okay, so layer 1 with Popsicle. And if this is maybe one of your first times watching one of our lives, I did look at the bottom right hand corner of my stencil, and there is an etched number down there. So layer 1 says -1 behind it. It has the item number TESN 4, looks like 408-1. So that's how I know that it is layer 1. And then I lined that up using both the alignment guides, the square alignment pieces, but also I use my visual cues specifically with this particular design because the foilet is already printed with an outline of each of the images, and so I can make sure that those are within the openings as well. So I use both the alignment squares and just the visual openings that I can see to place that stencil over the top. And now I'm coming in with the Huckleberry color, which is kind of muting that bright Popsicle. Rather than making it even brighter with a color like Plum Punch, I grabbed something a little bit darker to pair with it and give it a little bit more softness. Our team is getting ready. We are in the last little bits of wrapping our palettes and getting the palettes ready for the truck that's coming tomorrow. And we are all very excited to see you if you are coming this weekend. And if you're coming to staycation, then today started the kickoff of your discount period, so you can order any of the supplies you might want to have for the class. And we are equally excited to see you for class in November. Not technically see you, but talk to you, see your comments, see your projects you're creating afterwards. Okay, layer 2 then. Go ahead and get that in place. Layer 2 is going to be the one that I showed you already, rose water with passion fruit. Amrita says she needs to start packing. That is always my most dreaded thing to do. Especially since I'm kind of here at home but not staying at home. And I need to remember all the things. I do this for every trip I take, though. Packing is just the thing that I never want to do. So it always waits, and then I way overpack because I just throw a bunch of stuff in.
That's me.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I know Susan has gone on some bigger trips in the last couple years, and so I've heard her talk about how, she gets her suitcase out like a week or more in advance.
Yes.
And
I
starts
wanna be that organized.
I know, starts putting things in it and thinking about, oh, I should bring some extra baggies in case we need this, or I should put, sacks in for our dirty laundry. Those are not things that I think about. So thankfully I do have a husband who thinks that way, and so all of our suitcases have dirty laundry sacks in them, and they just stay in there, so I don't have to remember that. As long as I can remember my Alani, I'll be good.
Snacks.
Alani and sugar and candy and...
Well, the funny thing is, both my husband and I are horrible at packing. So we get there, and our rule of thumb is, if you didn't pack it, then we're going to have to buy it.
Right. Just go to the store.
We're
We're not going to a deserted island.
Right.
Those of you who haven't been to Iowa before, it's not just all desolate cornfields. There will be Walmarts and Targets and all the things you need. So, oh, we have list makers. Trisha says, I make lists and then I pack. Yes, that's my husband for sure. Lists on his phone and sticky notes and...
we all need those people.
I know. He is my person. And then we're walking out the door and he'll say something like, did you bring your sunglasses? Do you have your ID? If we're flying somewhere, he always asks me if I have my ID. Yes, honey, I have flown before. I do have my ID.
And then you look down and it's not there.
So far that hasn't happened.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. Amrita thinks about all the things, but then procrastinates the actual doing of the things. Yep, I can get on board with that too. It's like I know what I probably should be packing, but I just don't feel like doing it. So as I'm adding this dimensional layer of blending, I'm making sure that I'm not covering up all of the rose water color that I've already applied. And that's how you get that really unique looking flower color, is by leaving some of the rose water still exposed and covering some of it with, you can play with the shading. You can make it a little bit darker in some areas and lighter in other areas, just to add to the dimension of the flowers. We're getting there, almost done with layer 2. So because of Stamp Joy this week, typically I have a meeting right after my live, and today I don't. So guess what? We can just craft. We can just keep going. Don't worry. I don't have plans to keep you for hours today making this project. It's pretty simple. Okay. Jamie says, I can't imagine packing without a list. Does that surprise you about me, Jamie? You've known me for many years. Does it surprise you that I don't make lists and I procrastinate my packing? I don't know. I wonder if, do I hide it well or
Oh gosh.
do I masquerade as an organized person? All right, let's go ahead with our third layer. This is the greenery layer. And for this one, I'm going to be using Mint Julep for the kind of lighter portion. April says, every time I think I have all the TE colors I need, you use a new color combo and I discover another one I've overlooked. So what's the one you've overlooked in this combo? Curious, April. Okay, so Mint Julep is a nice kind of light pastel green. My unexpected combo with this is going to be Spearmint, which is a more muted, dusty sage green, which when combined together, it gives you kind of a unique green look. Yvette says you need all the TE colors. So there you go. There's your answer. I also have passed along I have one daughter who is a lot like her dad and makes lists for packing and gets it done early. And then I have one who I have to admit is more like her mother. And she just stuffs things in a bag. And if anybody knows my kids and wants to guess which is which, I don't think you'll have any trouble guessing which child is which. They both have their personalities that they have picked up from us. Funny how that happens. You know, you raise them the same, but they're just born with that innate personality of who they are. Lisa's New Year's resolution is to get all the TE colors. And it looks like some of you have packing templates that you use for different types of trips. Amrita has a Disney packing template. Oh, you guys, you're making me feel like I am missing out. Oops, I put the wrong thing in there. Here we go. Like I'm missing out on something really important. I'm feeling like I need to go make a packing template.
Things to do today.
I mean, I do have a very detailed packing list for Stamp Joy classes. So I do know how to do it. I just don't. For personal reason, for personal things. Oh, man. Oh, April says she has huckleberry cardstock, but not ink, and no rose water. That's probably the most surprising one that you don't have, because I love rose water. Both ink and cardstock I pull out a lot. It goes with so many different things and adds that kind of an unexpected tone to a lot of color combinations. Huckleberry is not one that I grab a lot. So when I try to be weird about my color combinations, I think, what do I not usually grab for? And I try to do that. Grab at least one color that isn't one that I use a lot. And it is purple. But you'll notice I don't talk about my dislike for purple as much anymore, because we have a lot of great purples in our collection now. Back in the day, we had 1, 2, lavender glaze and jelly donut, and those still are not my favorites. All right, that was layer 3. Okay, now we're gonna do the final layer, and the color combo on this one, we're gonna start with Peaches and Cream. And actually, before I put this down, or after I put this down, I am going to turn on my Mink machine. Let it get nice and heated up. So I just turned that on to a setting of 3, and we'll talk more about that when we're ready to foil. Okay, so on this last layer, you can see some of the stencil openings are over the top of white cardstock, which means it hasn't been blended yet. Some of the stencil openings are on the flower centers for the flowers that we've already blended. I'm gonna start with those, and for some of you, this might seem like, you know, an added step that you don't want to take, and that's okay. I would recommend, if you don't want to kind of finagle with those open centers to choose a color that will look good over all of the layers. So your darkest color would probably go last. I could cover the entire piece with huckleberry, but I wanted to add one more bright color in there. So what I'm going to do here is take my detail blender brushes, and anything that was previously blended on the huckleberry layer, I'm going to actually blend just that flower center with a darker shade of huckleberry ink. So I'm finding those flowers from the huckleberry layer, blending over the top of the centers. And you don't have to go super dark on them either. Trying to avoid the openings specifically that are white, and then there are some other flower centers that were on the layer with the rose water and the passion fruit. So now that I've covered all of the huckleberry centers, I'm going to grab my passion fruit ink, which was the detail layer for the layer number 2, and we're going to go over the flower centers for this color. Again, doing what I can to avoid the openings that are completely white. And you can get as detailed as you want with these, and I like to show you sometimes the most detailed that you can get, and then you can walk it back from there. If you are trying to go a little bit faster, don't have as much time, you don't have to do this step, and there are panels where I didn't do this step. Instead, I just chose a dark color and went over the entire piece or entire layer with that color. Okay, now this step is brought to you by the magic of the glass board. We're going to pull this piece up and move it out of the way really quickly. And I'm going to wash my stencil with alcohol, and that's going to make sure that I don't get that contamination from the purple inks when I'm applying my last color. Somebody's asking, why am I not using the smaller brushes? Well, I just didn't have them pulled. So you could use the detail blender brushes, I think is what you're talking about. Let me show you one other thing that I discovered when cleaning stencils that have kind of pokey pieces. A lot of times when you do flowers, the stencil material is cut in a V shape to get the hump of the petal. And that just leaves kind of pokey pieces of the stencil behind. And our microfiber cloths can tend to catch on those. You can sometimes pull them, break them. So what I've been doing lately is using one of our cleaning pads. This one is for use with alcohol. So I sprayed this with alcohol. And then because you have so many fine bristles on this scrubby tool, you can just scrub that across the top of the stencil. It gets off all of your ink. And then you need to come back to your cloth to wipe the surface and even just to pat the back of the stencil. So I've really loved washing with that scrubby tool because it really helps get into the spaces that are more pokey. All right, so we've washed that stencil. It is now dry. Dries just that fast when you use alcohol. Let me make sure my surface is dry. Feels good. We'll tack that back in place and place this down over the top. And we're going to do those white openings now. First with Peaches and Cream. And then we're going to use Papaya. So Peaches and Cream is a lighter color. I don't have to be too careful about avoiding those flower centers that we already did because those purples are a bit darker. But I will, mostly try to avoid those openings. I'm just not being super careful and using a masking tape or anything like that. All right, almost there. And the other fabulous part of this is, while it seems like it's taking us a while to blend this, we're getting 6 pieces out of this one session of blending, so that you can choose. Do you want to make 6 different months of a calendar? Do you want to make 6 tear-off calendars, each with 1 piece of artwork? Do you want to make 6 cards? You really get lots of pieces from one stencil. Okay, then our dimensional blend is going to be Papaya, and I'll grab my bitty blender brush for this one and drag that onto the stencil to blend it. Give it a little bit of a pop with that darker papaya color. And my Papaya ink pad is new, and so it's rather juicy. And so as I am blending on here, you'll see that I always start my blend onto kind of the stencil material and then drag it onto the edges of the opening. Rather than starting like right in the middle of your flower, you want to start off to the edge or off to the side and drag that color onto the edge. Let's see, we've got a good question. So April said, you said the clean sweep is for alcohol. Do you swap out the brush part or have more than one? That is really up to you. We do have the brush pad refills, but I would say don't use your scrubber that you've used with alcohol on your rubber stamps. Alcohol really dries things out, and it will over time affect the longevity of your rubber stamps, because it's going to dry that rubber out, and it can crack over the long term. So if you're going to use this with alcohol, you can remove this piece with the Velcro, and when you're going to wash your stamps, you can put your stamp one on. I don't like to go through the trouble, so I do actually have a different one for different cleaning methods. So I keep the alcohol one by my glass board. The rubber stamps one goes in a different area where I do most of my stamping with my Misty. And then we also keep one by the sink that we use with other cleaning things like Dawn Power Wash or just soap and water. Do I have another question there? Linda asked about Stamp Joy Staycation and the ink refills. Are we doing something special with them? If you didn't get a chance to watch the supply list walkthrough, I did address that and maybe some other things that you might have questions about. But to answer that right now, yes, we are doing a special technique that requires the ink refills. The ink refills are not on there just so that you can re-ink your ink pad. And using the pad itself by like squishing it onto the surface doesn't work for the technique that we're going to be showing. So I would recommend having the ink refills or using ink refills that you have in a different color combination so you can experience that technique. But good question about staycation. Okay, let's pull this off and ta-da! We also get to add foil to this beautiful color combo. So I am going to cut this apart now, and you can choose to do this in a few different ways depending on the size of your Mink machine and also the, the size of your Mink machine and the size of your carrier sheet. I'm going to cut it this way in thirds so that I can use the carrier sheet that is 6 by 8.5. This is the one we were talking about earlier in the live that is currently sold out. This one is longer and allows you to fit that 8.5 length of your cardstock into, while also fitting the 6-inch width of your mini Mink machine. Now, if you have the big Mink machine, you can grab our 8.5 by 11 carrier. That one is in stock. And then you can send the whole sheet through your large Mink at the same time. All right, let's get this surface cleaned up. Grab my paper trimmer. Yvette said, doesn't alcohol evaporate off the pad? It probably, I don't know, fully. I mean, mine is wet right now still from that cleaning that we just did, but I would assume it stays in the pad and potentially is maybe reinvigorated or mixed with whatever cleaning solution you add the next time around. So up to you. If you want to try and get away with this using the same one, you certainly could. Okay, let's pull our mini Mink into frame here. And we're going to use, I guess it really doesn't make a huge difference, but I am using the one with the big flower in the middle, this one. So we'll go ahead and set these other two aside for now. And I'm going to cut my foil to fit across here. Oh, well, look at that. I used up a whole roll of foil, you guys. We did it, Whitney. This is champagne foil, and it is definitely our most used foil, so I can't say I'm surprised by that. Let's go ahead and cut this like
Did you
that.
need more? I have it filled.
Nope, I think I will have enough. I'm hoping that I can cut this down the middle and that it will cover both of these. Okay, we're covering that, and we did it. All right, so we have enough to get by for this project, but we'll have to
I'll have to order some more.
yes. Okay, so here's our 6 by 8.5 carrier. Fold is at the top here. We're going to send that through the machine first. It comes with our Foil Magic shim in it, which conducts the heat from the machine really well. It is a special material that we found and tested for this purpose of foiling. And we're going to place that into the carrier and send it through with that folded edge first. Yvette asked if we're going to stock the big Mink. We are not going to stock the large Mink, so if it is something you want, we just truthfully can't compete with the pricing on other sites like Amazon. So if you have that, go grab your big Mink there. We don't have plans to carry it, and it's pretty large and more difficult to ship. So Linda says she's retired now, but she needs a job for her TE addiction. All right. Let's grab it out the other end then. I like to let it cool inside of here until it's cooler to the touch. It is pretty warm when it comes out of the other end of the machine. Set that aside. You can kind of hold the paper down, hold the foil down, and grab this out of it and let that cool off. And then once it's cool to the touch, we can go ahead and peel that back. And you will see that beautiful foil application. It just adds that extra pizzazz. That's a great word, right? We zhuzhed it up. It's got lots of pizzazz because we zhuzhed it. All right, so I can do the others later, but you guys get the idea of what you're doing with that foilet. Now we need to cut apart our art pieces, and I'm going to do that with the die set that we just came out with. This one is the All Planned Out 4. Like I said, this is a layout already planned for you. It comes with a few extra little tags if you want to tie a tag on. This is a sentiment strip that I used on this card here. You can also see the plain square that's included is designed to cut out the square pieces perfectly. And then you have a layer for that, a big scalloped layer that you can cut in a different color to layer on top or behind. And then you have this big stitched rectangle for the main piece of your A2 card. And then we included these strips. So there was extra room in this set, and I always like to have little extras that you can put in there. And the idea with these was being able to build a pattern, something like this. So this is what we're going to do with the card layout. I'm going to grab my die cut machine and we'll go ahead and put this in here with the square die. I might need, what did I do, Whitney? We are in the, oh, I put it underneath. Okay, there we go.
Those cutting plates always get lost.
They do. And I had it out earlier to show everybody the free box die and how to position that on your platform. All right, so let's go ahead and cut this one. And we'll set the other one aside for now. Grab this one out of the die. It's ready to go. I already have several of the other pieces that have been cut. So I cut those little strips in several cardstock colors that match the inks that I used for blending. So I've got Rosewater, Popsicle, Spearmint, Peaches and Cream, Passion Fruit. Did I say all of them? Mint Julep. There they all are. I taped the 3 strips together, and then I just ran that through my die cut machine for each of these colors. And then also I have die cut the stitched rectangle, the A2 size with the stitching around the outside from Sugar Cube cardstock. So we're going to go ahead and get gluey. We're going to start gluing down these strips, and I'm just going to follow the order that I've already laid out. But if I were doing this, or when I did this for the first time, I laid them all out first, and then once I was happy with the color arrangement, I came back and adhered them. But I think this should work to do it this way. And I like doing this with liquid glue so that I can have a little bit of time to kind of shift and reposition. I'm going to grab my glue press so that I have something to set it into when I'm not using it. There are 3 different widths of these strips, kind of a thin, a medium, and a thick. Okay. We've got medium rose water. All right. One thing I did want to mention for those of you, raise your hand in the comments if you were part of our combo club this year. We shipped you your last combo club in September, so the combo club is over for this year, but I I wanted to remind you guys that if you're shopping any of those exclusives that were available to our Combo Club members, your time is coming to an end to be able to get those. I believe it is next week, Wednesday. So that is something you'll want to make note of if there's anything you still want to get from that category before we take it off of the website. And if you're not part of the Combo Club, you won't be able to see that category. So you probably don't know what I'm talking about, and that's okay. Just wanted to give that quick reminder. All right, I'm going to start coming up from the bottom because if I'm going to get off in my spacing at all, I want to make sure I'm doing it towards the middle and not at the bottom. So we're going to come down to the bottom and start meeting up in the middle. Okay. This is the one we're going to stamp our sentiment on, and I'm excited to show you how we're going to do that with one of our mini strips. I know those are one of those sentiments that are all together, and you get to stamp them all as one and then die cut them. It makes them fabulously simple for mass producing, but sometimes I have a mini strip that I want to use by itself, and so I have a couple of tips for you on how you can take any of our mini strips and use just one of the sentiments in that set. All right, let's lay out the rest of what we have here. I have this one, this one, this one, and this one. When I get down to the last few, I just want to make sure that I have good room left to fit what I think I'm going to be able to fit. Good to see so many of you loved the Combo Club this year. We're excited for some new things happening next year. Of course, always new products in the Combo Club, but I think you guys will be excited about some other changes as well.
I'm excited already.
Whitney's excited. That should tell you something, that it's exciting. Okay, one of the other things that I didn't mention, I mentioned it during the product reveal video over the weekend, but I wanted to mention that we have put together a few ink bundles. I know some of you have said maybe you're building your TE ink collection, but when we come out with these stencils that have multiple layers, we like to give you guys some curated options for inking your stencils. And so we have a couple of bundles of ink that are pre-designed and just curated for you to make sure you get achieve a beautiful blend. And you can check those out in the new Petal Party category as well. All right, so there are those strips. Isn't that a fun color combination? I didn't want to cover up too much of the strips, so actually you can see I cut my scalloped layer out of vellum, and that allows you to still see the strips behind them even though they're slightly muted. So we're going to go ahead and adhere this piece of blended artwork onto the scallop piece, and then we're going to pop that up slightly with our thin foam strips. They're just a tad too long for these squares, so I cut a little bit off of them. And sometimes, depending what type of mood I'm in, if I want to save them, I'll just stick them right back on the roll like this. And then usually later I need smaller pieces, and so I come back and grab those. Now this next part needs to be a little bit thinner, so I'm actually going to cut this down the center, pull off a thinner piece. That got sticky. And then we'll save that over here too. Claudia asked, can you do the layout and then do press and seal? I assume you mean on the strips. I will say the more precise you want to be with your positioning, like with these stripes, the harder it is to use press and seal. Sometimes press and seal has a little bit of static cling to it, and so the pieces can kind of shift ever so slightly as you're trying to pick them up. So I wouldn't and haven't typically chosen to use press and seal when I'm doing something like so geometric, like stripes or squares or those kind of things. But that's a great question. I know you probably saw me use that press and seal trick over the weekend when I was live for World Card Making Day, and it works great for floral arrangements. I find that's what I use it most. Nancy asked, am I leaving space between each color? Yes, I did. And I just did, I eyeballed the amount of space between, but sometimes if you want to be really precise in the amount of space, you can cut yourself a spacer and then just tack it down with a little bit of removable adhesive, glue your next one down, move it down, glue your next one, move it down. Then you make sure you have the exact amount of space in between. But I just eyeballed it, and I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. So, all right, then let's put some little enamel dots on. All of our new colors this year have come out with enamel dots, which is fun. And I pulled out Popsicle and Papaya enamel dots. To apply enamel dots, a lot of times you'll see me grab my die pick and I pick up that dot with the tip of the die pick, and then I place it where I want it and just push it down with my finger. It is a lot easier, especially with these smaller ones, than trying to take them off with my fingers and put them where I want them. So that's how I use these. They are, probably goes without saying since you've seen me use them, but they already have adhesive on the back of them. So just kind of getting underneath of them and positioning them where you want them, and then just holding that down while you pull your die pick out. Okay, now we're going to get to the fun part of stamping that sentiment. Let's bring the MISTI in, and the sentiment that I wanted was thanks a bunch. I love to use that when I'm making flower cards, because there's a bunch of flowers, and thanks a bunch is kind of a fun little sentiment. So I found that sentiment in the Mini Strips Floral set. It's the third one down, and because I already have stripes on my card, I didn't want to incorporate another die cut strip, so I wanted to be able to stamp that sentiment just perfectly onto the purple stripe at the bottom. So what we're going to do first, and actually I might need your help, Whitney. I am missing a grid paper.
Ooh.
I know, it's my own fault. I washed the MISTI ahead of time and then I forgot to get a new grid paper out. So
I've got extra.
Whitney to the rescue.
Ta-da!
Thank you. All right, I'm going to tack this piece of grid paper down into the MISTI. It can shift just slightly, and when you're trying to be really precise with your sentiment, you don't want that grid paper to shift anywhere. So I am going to take that stamp then and place it down. I'm placing it towards the bottom of my MISTI because I want to have room for my card to sit fully in the base of the Misty. So we'll pick it up here. Then I am going to take my clear alignment panels. So this one is printed with a grid on it, and I'm going to place that down into my Misty, and I'm going to take my VersaFine Clair ink pad, and I'm going to do my best to only ink the third row of this sentiment. And it's okay if you get a little off. I'm going to show you how to fix that. So I think I did it perfectly without getting any ink anywhere else, but if you do get ink outside of that area, you can take either a baby wipe or even just your finger or your cloth to kind of wipe that excess ink off of any areas that you don't want it. So I'm going to do just a little bit more now that I've got a good view, and I think I did get just a touch on that E of the next row, so I'm going to erase that with my finger, and I'm stamping it down onto the clear alignment panel. So there's my thanks a bunch. Now we're going to keep this clear alignment panel in the same spot, and I'm going to slip my card under it until I get it right, get that sentiment right where I want it. I am right justifying it just a touch. And if I can get back under here, I want to make sure it is straight and centered. So I'm feeling really good about that positioning. So I'm going to pull that up. I want that paper to stay in that spot. And actually, I'm missing a magnet. So let me grab my other Misty here. I'm going to hold this in place with a magnet. And then we're going to do the whole process over again. So I'm going to ink this sentiment, only the third row, making sure that I didn't get any on the other areas around it. And then we're going to close it. Ta-da! I got one sentiment, the one that I wanted. Now there's another fun thing you can do with mini strips. Let's say, again, with this thanks a bunch, I wanted it on a die cut piece. So there's this little die in the all planned out set, and it actually, let me close this while it's still a little bit inky. So it actually fits this just perfectly. So if I wanted to stamp the sentiment from mini strips onto another strip, a die cut of any kind, I can cut that die into a piece of scrap cardstock like I did here. And you can see I just die cut the green out of it. Now I'm going to arrange that piece around the sentiment so that it's perfectly centered. I can tape that in place, or I can use a magnet. And then if I have this die cut from, let's say, whatever color I wanted to use, like white, I can put that right back in here, ink up that sentiment, and close it again. And that's what I did when I created this card. So this is actually this piece stamped with the sentiment from the mini strips. So lots of ways to get what you want with just a little bit of finagling. So, all right, you guys, let me pull both of my cards back in here. I guess I did not adhere this down to the card base yet, so let's do that. Because I only popped this up with one layer of thin foam, I'm going to go ahead and pop it up with a second layer of thin foam strips. And these can go all the way down the side. Shout out to the thin foam strips. We love these. And then I can use that half guy that I cut apart earlier. And then look at this. These two that are going to fit nicely in here. And we'll be ready to tack this down. I did keep you guys a little late today. I guess I fulfilled my prediction. but we got a lot of good tips in. Okay, so got to get on my tiptoes so I can look right over the top of this and make sure that I'm adhering it straight. All right, there they are. Plus a bonus. A bonus using All Planned Out 4. All of these use those same dies from the All Planned Out layout. All right, let's say farewell to everyone and some reminders for the rest of this week. So Thursday, we have no live. That is because all of our whole team is down at the event center setting up. So if you can mark your calendar, and if somebody pops on the fan page and says, where's the live today? You can let them know that we are having no live because of Stamp Joy. So a little announcement there, and I will plan on seeing all of you next week, if not before then. If I don't see you at Stamp Joy, I will plan on seeing you next week, Tuesday, for another fun release that we have planned for you. So I hope you have a great rest of your day, rest of your week, and those of you traveling, safe